Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sports Coverage with me, Adi and Rishi. Like always, special guest in Orno. We're going to get some expert punditry um, with regards to the FA Cup. So yeah, it's a I think it's a very relevant topic, dude. Like this discussion about whether the FA Cup is still relevant in modern football, right? Where does it stand? Of course, I think we've come to know that it was a much more prestigious tournament in the past, but today probably not the same. um, the Premier League is given like a lot more uh, value, and now you have the Champions League as well. So there's just so much more, right? And where does the FA Cup stand? But like, even though like people say that okay, the cup competition is probably not as big as they used to be, there is still clearly some value attached to it. Today was, of course, this big Arsenal Manchester United game, third round of the FA Cup. It's probably in its first few stages still, but then both teams go fairly strong, and you get a really good game out of it. And clearly, it still, I feel like it still continues to mean something. And yeah, given all of this, I don't know, what do you think, dude? Like, do you think the FA Cup is still relevant, and like, to what extent is it relevant today?
Yeah, I think like the magic of the FA Cup is still a thing you hear because it still gives a chance to the lower league the teams to play against some of the bigger teams, and like it it's still there is a mad thing of beauty. You've seen when some of the smaller teams get drawn up against the bigger teams and their reactions to it because they get a chance to showcase their skills, play at a bigger club, and it does a lot for their finances as well.
Yeah.
And you do see that at the end when the bigger teams play against each other, they do take it a bit more seriously, especially when there's a lot hanging on the line, like we saw today, even though it was just the third round. But still, I do still think it's quite relevant in modern football. Yeah, for sure.
Bro, I swear. I mean, Rishi, like as a Manchester United fan, you probably know um, how it is like to play these smaller teams and actually struggle against them. Happened last season against Coventry in the semi-final. So yeah, like where do you stand, bro? Like on the whole FA Cup thing.
No, I mean, I agree with Arno that, struggling teams who are mid-table, 13th, 14th, able to fight against and put up a good fight against teams higher up and, pull a surprise. I think it really, yeah, in the sense that, bro, like, it gives a lower tier team a fighting chance. Like, if they can pull an upset, like, it doesn't always happen. Like, you probably get, say, two upsets every season. I think in the grand scheme of things, it makes a lot of difference. It makes for the fans, for the touring fans, for the finances, and the whole concept of okay, like you still believe in the underdog story. At the end of the day, every underdog team wants to believe that okay, like if given a chance, we can pull up and we can give a fair fight. We can give the big boys a run for their money, and I think that still matters. Like of course, you have the league where 20 of the best teams compete against each other and all that. But then you have your Champions League also where the biggest teams in Europe compete. But I still feel at the end of the day, in even like if you want to be the best in the league, of course it is a knockout game. Anything can happen. You can create chances like you can a lot can happen, and in the end it can just be say a penalty kick or like say a missed shot on target. Like a lot can happen in a knockout tie, and I feel it still matters. Like especially now that we've lost the concept of away leagues in Champions League, I feel this kind of competitions we need a lot more of knockout competitions. Otherwise, if it just comes down to like Champions League or like I mean like league football, I think we just lose a little bit of this spark. I feel competitions like these are needed to keep that spark alive.
Yeah, there's a weird excitement, bro. Like I mean, although like as an Arsenal fan, like I feel like yeah, we ended up on the losing side today. There was like a weird excitement to it. There was like a weird thrill to it, especially towards the end of extra time. Obviously, when you go into penalties, a penalty shootout is always intense and exciting. So I don't think there's anything that can replace that magic. Or like even if you go to a World Cup and you see like these moments and when there's penalties and there's shootouts, extra time, there's a weird drama that is very unique to these circumstances. But yeah, Adi, what's your take down this on like just the FA Cup and like where it stands today?
I mean, any cup competition in the world for the local country, like Spain has its own, Italy has its own, England has its own. I think it is a good format because it is just knockout, right? You don't get a second chance. In that sense, it's always an excitement because first you play new teams. Like, for example, at least for my side, as an Arsenal fan, I've not seen Arsenal play any new team for the past like 3, 4 seasons. But like for example, yesterday you saw City playing teams like Salford FC. Then you saw what do you say, Liverpool playing teams like Stanley. So like you always find that new teams that come and you play against them, and in that sense, I think you also see new talent from your own club. Like it's easier for your club to play your second team or your youngsters, your academy players in these kind of games, see what they can do. For example, I think that's the main agenda from me, from what I've seen, you know, from FA Cups, etc. At least in the recent times, especially when a top team is playing against a weaker opposition. I really haven't seen that so-called magic of the FA Cup for a long time. I really can't remember the last time I saw a big team lose to a second division team, third division team. So I really, really can't express that idea of the magic of the FA Cup really exists right now because the quality is huge. Like a Premier League team versus a team in the second, third division, it's huge. Like yesterday, Liverpool can play the second team and still win comfortably 4-0. So it shows that it's really a different level of football when you're playing in the Premier League versus a third, fourth division team. FA Cup, any cup competition is fun for its own, knockout games. You have only one chance. If you don't finish your chances, maybe it goes to penalty. Maybe you just lose 1-0 and you're done. You're out of the competition. You don't get to play it again. And I think that's what makes it exciting. But again, if the topic is, how relevant it is in the modern game, I think it has lost its value over time compared to what it was before. I think FA Cup has more value when it's the top teams going against each other in the semi-finals or finals. I feel like until you go to the semi-finals or finals is where it gets valuable. Until then, I think if a team gets knocked out in the second round, third round, everybody moves on to the next season. They don't really sit and be like, yeah, it was a bad loss. For me, for example, I don't even think you guys remember who Arsenal lost to like 3 years ago in the FA Cup. If I ask you, I don't know if you would be able to tell me who we lost to. So it just shows that everyone moves on very quickly and they really forget the results, you know. And even Ral's going and checking on the net. We lost to Nottingham Forest 1
Nottingham
0
Forest, I know, it was the same
Yeah,
white kit, and I remember it.
yeah, but it took time.
So
But that's my point. Like everyone forgets it and people move on very quickly. That's my point. Like you when in the league when there are like tough losses, if I ask you like what was that game that changed for Arsenal title in Premier League, you might know what happened in 2022, 2023 last season also. But that's the thing, like if people go back to FA Cup, sometimes they're going to struggle to imagine who did we lose, which team did we lose, which team did we win? Again, if I ask you who Arsenal won against, which team did Arsenal beat last year in the FA Cup, fourth round or something, I don't think any of us will remember it. That's my whole point. So it's just that until you go to the semifinals, finals, or if you lose to a big team, I think it has more value. But at the end of the day, like if you're playing your second team and you have a loss in FA Cup, I don't think it's that much of a big deal. It's just my opinion. At least in the modern era, when you're playing so many games, like again, as I was saying, you have to play 38 Premier League games. Now you have more UCL games to play. If you're playing Carabao Cup, again, there's one more cup competition in the Carabao Cup. Like, and if you're playing in the semifinals, you have two legs. There's too much football. At least for me as a fan, sometimes I'm okay with losing an FA Cup just for the fact that I feel like okay, my players get a rest for like some time and actually needed in this kind of football timing because it's just so congested, so saturated that at least for me, my club, I see them playing every 3 days. I really don't feel like I've had a break from Arsenal for the past 2 months. Like that's how it is. And if you haven't had another cup of FA Cup, I just feel like it's just too saturated for me to be like, yeah, this is also equally valuable than it was before at least.
probably for the bigger teams, I think I agree in the sense that, bro, like okay, I think over time the value of like the FA Cup has sort of dwindled away. But for the smaller teams, I stay very close to Bristol, bro, and like there's a real buzz knowing the fact that Wolves were coming. Although Wolves are not the biggest Premier League team, just knowing the fact that there was a Premier League team coming over for an FA Cup game, there was a real buzz around the area, and like it really creates something that doesn't happen very often. So I think for the smaller teams, it makes a huge difference. Like just to know that a big team is coming, like all except for the revenue part and all of that itself, just as a football, like from a football fan's perspective, to know that say like if for example, if Bristol City were playing one of the top Premier League teams like a Chelsea or an Arsenal or United or whoever, if they came over and they played one of them, dude, like it would have been a crazy scene. Like it would have been mad. For Wolves itself, it was so big, and I'm just trying to understand like how big a deal it is actually for all these fans. You know, like for when a Premier League team does come over. So for the smaller teams, I don't think like for them it's still the FA Cup. Like it's probably the main thing even today. Like even today they probably look forward to these FA Cup ties more than their league ties, like more than the championship ties. Like I've not seen the kind of buzz that this game had, uh, the same kind of buzz that this game had for say a championship game. They had like they've already played some of the top teams in the championship. At least earlier in the season they were competing, but now they're not. But even then it was not like this. Like for these teams, I think the FA Cup does do something like very very different. Yeah, but just on the game, like I mean, there's a big conversation that I think people were having about replays and whether again like the whole too much football thing. Do you guys think FA Cups should have extra time? Like I think it's another very like relevant question. Do you think it should have extra time or no?
Bro, I think it was good that they did scrap the replays so that, like, again,
Yeah,
fixture
yeah,
congestion has been reduced. You get a result on the day, and there's more excitement to penalty shootouts and extra time after all. But just another point I'd like to add, which we haven't really talked about, is
yeah,
that
yeah,
I
yeah.
personally don't think the League Cup or the Carabao Cup is really like has its own merit. Like I wouldn't personally
Yeah.
see a problem with it being scrapped instead of trying to get instead of like devaluing the FA Cup, which has way more history and uh, merit itself. I feel like because fixture congestion is one of the biggest problems in England and in world football right now, adding another domestic cup which doesn't really add too much more because at least the FA Cup is more about the smaller teams and so on. But I don't think the Carabao Cup adds that much. So personally, at least I always feel like there's no point of our teams even participating in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I Carabao Cup. I still haven't. I've never figured it out. Rishi, bro, what did it feel like to win the Carabao Cup? Like, actually, you're the only one who actually has in the recent. Like, you've had that feeling. What does it mean? Like, what does it? Because I
Bro,
know the last time Arsenal won a trophy, it was the FA
Bro,
Cup.
go
Then,
read his story, you'll know what it
nah,
means.
that was to the FA
that
Cup,
was
by the
FA
way.
Cup.
That
Damn,
was
damn,
FA
FA
Cup.
Cup.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
was
Yeah,
the FA
same
Cup.
feeling,
I
man.
genuinely, I genuinely like. I think one of my best nights as an Arsenal fan has been Arsenal beating Chelsea in the FA Cup final. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know
brother.
why.
Obviously, since you've supported them, that's the only trophy they won. It's
They
not
won
like,
three other FA Cups, but that one I don't know what it just meant a lot more. But yeah, anyways, tell how what is the Carabao Cup's relevance? You tell
Bro,
first, like
I honestly
does it
don't
even matter?
I don't get why we have a Carabao Cup. Why, like, because I simply don't understand the relevance of it. Like back in the day, it used to be called the Carling Cup. Like again, like we have a competition where like the non-league teams, like every single team registered for the English FA, like get to
Play.
play. Like we have that in the FA Cup. Like I don't understand the extra need for it. So okay, it is an extra piece of silverware that you can get. Okay, so you if you get that, well and good. But if a team loses out on it at any point of the competition, I think it's one of those competitions where you can just be like, okay, it is the Carabao Cup, fine. But if you are in the final, okay, of course, we're in a cup final. We have another piece of silverware. I don't think you should base your you should define your season based on it. Like I don't think if you win it, you should be like, okay, I have this, so we don't need to like Again, I think the size of the club or like what are your expectations also differs. So if you are like one of those smaller clubs, you can probably take that as an achievement. But then again, I don't think you should personally settle on it. But for a bigger club like we're all like you guys are all Arsenal fans and I'm a United fan, I don't think we should be solely judging like okay, we did win the Carabao Cup. Okay, I think that's a good season if we end our season poorly in the league. So I think yeah, that's about it. If you win it, okay, well and good. But if you don't, it's one of those competitions where you can just be like it's okay. It's like we get out, like there's no injury scare, like our players get a little bit more of a rest.
Yeah, but like what did it feel like? That did it feel like oh wow, like this is a good night or like it's one of
See,
those.
at that point, like we like after the bad start we had in the season, like we were just coming together as a team, and like Carabao Cup happens relatively early. The finals of it happens early compared to the end of the season final. So in the middle of the season, when you have a trophy, it's kind of a morale boost. Like it kind of sets you
Mm,
up for the final, final sprint of the season. So if you can win it, and given the context that we didn't start well, we were really just getting the momentum. I think it was really needed for us, and it was Ten Hag's first season, so we had a lot of expectations. But then again, we thought, okay, things are looking to like it's coming together for us finally. So it wasn't an ultimate goal, it wasn't an objective, but it looked like, we were gathering steam, and this was a sign of it. It was more like that.
Okay, now like bro, now okay, fine. We're Arsenal Manchester United, big game. Arsenal out of the FA Cup. For United, Adi, like from their perspective, you think like bro, now they can really kick on. Like this must be like could potentially be a huge boost in confidence. You've come away like against again playing with 10 men for most of that game, like especially after you paid extra time was included. You've come away with a result, like you won on penalties, whatever. You've gone to the Emirates after going to Anfield, like two tough places to go to, and you've done relatively well. You think like this is a huge confidence booster? Like that is also a part that that's it's also a role that cup competitions sort of play, which is to help you throughout the course of your season, not necessarily just for the silverware, but also to boost confidence and probably help them kick on in the league as well.
I look at it in both ways. It can be a confidence booster, but it also can be a thing that it shows that okay, you won a big result. Like out of this context, you can say okay, they went to the Emirates with 10 men, you won, etc. Like at the end of the day, if you just go on the basis of okay, you won versus the performance is two different things. I think you have to always look at the performance before the result. Like even if you come to me and said okay, they won, they can build upon it. Obviously, you can build upon any result. Like not only in the in the FA Cup, even in the Premier League. For example, if United won against Liverpool, I think that would have been a bigger testament because you're winning 3-2
Mm.
against like a team, in the Premier League who are leading. So I think building confidence and building something on that basis makes more sense. You can always build something on anything. You can build momentum even on losses. I feel like it can be done both ways. So I don't really stick to the aspect of okay, getting a good result means you can build on it. I've seen a lot of teams get a good result one game, next game they're back to a certain level. So like it's always not the best indicator to say okay, winning an FA Cup game or winning an FA Cup trophy or winning whatever, like an away game is the right sense to say okay, like this is where you can build upon. You can build upon every single game you play. Like after you're done with the game, if you lose, start trying to win the next game. If you look at that, I think yeah, United can look at this result, say okay, we won the game. Even though it's on penalty shootouts, the result says United won. So if they want to look at that as a sense of something they want to build up, what else can a manager say? Like that's what is in front of you, and that's what you can take it forward. But again, there's more to it, like style of play, the field tilt, XG. There's so many things where you can actually look into the game and say, okay, did we really deserve to win or not? So it's always a matter of, do you want to rely on a performance where it was tough to play away, not really created much chances, one on penalties, and say, okay, we're going to build on this, versus like going away to a team, scoring, goals, playing the right way, and trying to win that game. Like it's a two different context, right? So again, I always think you can win on every. I mean, you can build something on every context of the game, a win, loss, draw. But it's not up to me. It's up to United players, manager, etc. to see what they can see the positives. Maybe if they have any positives, they can take those positives and build upon those things. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird. Well, let's just quickly talk about the game, bro. Arno, what do you think, da? How impressed were you by United's approach to the game from the start?
I don't think there was anything impressive as such. United are still playing like a small club. The mentality is still the same. I know it's not easy to go into Arsenal away from home, but they didn't really approach the game with any kind of confidence or threat. They were hanging on from the first minute. I know they did manage to hang on with 10 men as well, but not like their football was much better before they had 11 men as well. But it's very frustrating to watch from as an Arsenal fan because we did create chances. We had plenty of chances, but yet again, we just couldn't finish them. Our XG must have been off the charts. And United were just I mean, I don't know if I can say a bit more clinical. They scored the one goal, but it was just very annoying, man. It's just a period in the season where things aren't going our way.
Yeah, Rishi happy here with that performance
Oh,
with the
he's just gonna say
approach.
some nonsense now. You wait and watch.
I mean, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't you? We are beating your rivals on penalties despite being 10 men for over like the majority of the game. And yeah, like we didn't play the best of football, but that's been the case like the course of the season. Like it's been a hard season for us, and we've had a change of manager in the middle of the season, and clearly he wants to play a style and he doesn't have the players to do it. So it's going to take some time before like we start seeing the more aesthetic football. So it's going to, for a while, it's going to be cagey. It's going to be like, the thing is, before with our previous manager, we were very open. We'd attack pretty much, and then the ball would come back. It was pretty much a basketball game for us. Like whenever we'd go front, the ball, we were very open to getting hit on the break, or every time we lose the ball, it looked like there was a shot on target against us. So from that perspective, I'm kind of very happy that teams are like, we're being a little bit more resilient. We're making things like teams work a little bit hard to create chances. So from that perspective, it was fine. And then I felt that penalty call against us was too harsh. That second yellow was a bit too harsh, but that mentality that the players showed, they never really gave up. The kind of they were hanging on to it. Like we were pretty much hanging on to it, like as you'd expect. Like yeah, and yeah, I just think not a great win per se, but then again, it's one of those games where you can kick on from this and be like, fair enough. Like we hung on to it, we came out of it well, and we can kick on in the at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Adi, what do you make of the game, da?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't see like you have to put context to both seasons. I feel like the style of play, I think there's nothing wrong in that style of play because I've seen Arsenal go and play the same style of play away against City last year and against a lot of top teams. So I really don't mind, teams coming and playing low blocks against us. I don't think it's a wrong. I don't really believe in this form of like this is the right way to play, this is the wrong way to play. Right. At the end of the day, Amiron has a job. For him, it's getting results in the short term and build something for the long term. And I really don't see what I mean. Like to be fair, I get why he would play a certain style of football because that's maybe what he believes the team, can play at the moment. Maybe it's something you can't instill that coaching philosophy and a lot of things in a short span of time with certain players he has. So I really don't see why, like, for me, it's like I've seen Arsenal go. So I don't mind this kind of football because I like teams playing different style and being able to adapt to different style. But I think it's also a matter of, okay, Arsenal don't have the best attackers right now. They've had a lot of injury problems. They've been struggling to score goals. I think we've only scored one goal in the past 3 games. And we've created a lot of chances in the past 3 games and really not been able to score, the goals which we needed. And coming into this game, we've already lost, two of our main attackers. We lost Jesus also today. So a lot of our attackers have been off, and then our finishing has also been questionable. So I think like it just comes down to being clinical. I think past 3 games, what we've struggled is being clinical. What we've struggled is confidence in front of goal, and it just showed again today. I don't know if anything will change because it's the same old thing. It's at the end of the day, a manager can take you to the final third, but it's up to the players to create magical moments. You look at teams like Liverpool, you look at teams like City. The reason they've won trophies till now is just a matter of their attackers have been on those important days in those important moments. You go back to even last week, uh, Liverpool losing 1-0, and then Gakpo just a cut and a shot. They were not playing well till that game. It was just that one small moment, it tweaked the entire game. And then they were leading 2-1 till the level against United, and that's what you need. On the days when you're not able to perform, when your team is not able to perform, you need your attackers to step up. But it's the opposite with Arsenal. I feel like the team steps up until the final third, until you shoot, and then it's just they've always flubbed their lines. And I think it's just been I don't know if it's a confidence issue. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's just those days, and can't help it when you're not finishing. Tap-ins in the past 3 games, you're always going to get punished. No matter how good you are, you're always going to get, punished.
Bro, I mean, see, I don't have the problem in the approach, Rishi. Like, my point is the approach when you say that I'm going to sit back and like soak in the pressure. That's okay. That means you need to provide a certain threat on the counter, which I didn't see until Ahmad came on. I think that's where I was coming from.
Yeah, of course, of course. I think our attack is a huge concern. Like we've, especially considering players like Marcus Rashford being out due to various reasons, like, and the fact that we've spent heavily in attack. Like the fact that if Ahmad doesn't play, our attack doesn't look threatening is major concerns for us, and that needs to be addressed. But I just felt it makes sense because he's also been playing. He's also been starting almost every game, playing 90 minutes almost every game. So it's okay. Like once in a while, we have to rotate our best players. We have to look after him. He's not like he's still quite a youngster, so we need to give him the minutes as well. Like on the same topic, I wanted to ask you guys. Like there have been a lot of talk these days, like compared, like regarding your strikers, regarding say Kai Havertz, because like of course he has a lot. Like see, I know that he's not the cleanest finisher in the sense he does miss a lot of big chances, but I also know he wins headers. He brings a lot to the game, but there have been times where he has his glaring misses. So what do you guys weigh? Like, do you feel like because Arsenal have been linked to strikers, you guys a lot of fan talk is that you guys need a striker. So what do you guys think? Do you guys need another striker? What or is Havertz
No,
fine
it's
enough?
not
You guys?
Harvard.
No,
You can't just point everything down to Harvard. You have to look at every team. You look at Haaland, you look at Salah, they all miss one-on-ones. I've seen Rashford miss one-on-ones. If you are only coming and putting one player on a pedestal saying, okay, Harvard is not there, you're not able to score goals, then it's the problem of the entire attack. Again, you go back to games previously. First of all, Harvard is a top scorer. So it doesn't make sense we're saying Harvard is the one who's not been able to finish it properly. I think players like Trossard, players like Jesus, players like Martinelli, and to an extent even Odegaard, Saka, when it comes to certain clinical finishings, they've missed it. Go back to last season, I again think players like Trossard missed that easy tap in against, Aston Villa when we needed to win that game. It was just literally in front of the goal and he hits it straight. So if it always comes down, if it's a lazy argument to say, okay, you need goals, look at the striker. It doesn't make sense. You look at Liverpool, the top scorer is a right winger who's playing, is 33 years old and is playing mainly in the wide, cuts in and scores. And he's on 19 goals right now. So it's very lazy to say, okay, you need a new striker for you to score goals. It's more about the entire team needs to learn to finish clinically. Like you look at today, I feel like Trossard had a good chance. Havertz today had a bad game. I felt like this was one of those games where he was bad. You look at 2 games ago against Brentford, he was very good. He scored a goal. People weren't complaining at that time. So it just comes from game to game. It's easy to sit and say, I feel like fans have like, the goldfish memory. They forget everything a player does and looks at the freshest game. I feel like it doesn't make sense because you have to look at, a performance over a long time. He had a bad start to his Arsenal career. He played in midfield. Then he found life in him as being playing as second striker, etc. And he's been good. I don't think the problem with Arsenal is a striker because he is our top scorer. He's scoring our most goals. I think he had gone for a game for like 10 games scoring at home until I think it was against Shakhtar. He could have scored that penalty. Maybe it would have been 11 and he would have broken the record. So it doesn't make sense when you're saying it's only Kai Havertz. Look at the backup. Look at our wingers. You have to look at the entire team to be like.
bro, like I don't personally think like there's anything like I actually like Kai Havertz. I think because he's one of those players who's brought something very different after a long time. Like for example, now if the keeper ever wants, I think people make a lot out of Arsenal playing out of the back, but if you actually see, David Raya does go long a fair few times, and the reason he can go long is only because Kai Havertz is up there. Because you have like the option of, I think one thing that I don't know the numbers, but at least like on the eye, he wins a lot in the air. He wins like a lot of like
He
stuff
does.
in the air, and the reason you're able to do that is only because Kai Havertz is there because Arsenal have no height across the front line, right? You've got Saka on one side, you've got Martinelli on one side. Martinelli, you just leave, bro. Like, I don't know. I don't think he can win duels like in the air at all. But Saka, on the other hand, like, yeah, potentially if you played into his body, he can hold it up. But if apart from that, like, you need Havertz to win you something, if especially when the ball is played long. So I think he brings that ability. He's very tight and very neat. Like, I don't think he's the most prolific goal scorer, but like again, like I think he does more than enough to warrant a place in the team. I can't say like he deserves not to like have a place or like he doesn't deserve to play as a number nine. I actually like him. I don't mind him playing as a number nine at all. Like I think the only thing that like Adi said, I think what I think Arsenal need more is a few more goals from the other side, right? Like I think Taka does his job. He hugs the line. I like what Martinelli has done in the last couple of games. I don't more than like hugging the line, he's trying to make those runs inside and in behind the defense, which we saw against Newcastle, saw today also. And I think that adds potentially a little more to Martinelli's goals. Like, I mean, he can that can potentially add a few more goals to him. And I think that's where we find the goals. Is not necessarily Havertz. Yeah, today was not great, and he's missed like a bunch of like a couple of bad chances, and the one against Newcastle, uh, also I thought was pretty bad. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, I don't mind it at all.
Or no?
Oh no, you want?
No, yeah, I agree, but that's the thing, right? Because we are mainly focusing on it right now. Like we do hear about striker issues, but we're mainly focusing on it right now because Saka's injured, and it's coincided with the fact that like the goals aren't coming, and we needed goals from somewhere. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, today like Havertz had 2, 3 good chances, which he still missed. So the thing is that the fans are going to be on top of him, and I do think that we can. I know Adi says he's still our top scorer, but that doesn't mean that he can't
Bro, but like,
keep
bro,
scoring.
see, the thing is, the way Arsenal is designed right now, as Rahul said, whenever Raya goes long, as he said, we don't play often from the back. You look at us, there's phases where we play from the back, there's phases where we play, long balls. It's You look at every time it's hit, it's always hit to Havertz. It's not hit to anyone else, and it's by design. You The thing is with Havertz, he always wins his duels, and once he wins his duels, there's a stat. I really can't find the stat right now, but I read this like it was last season stat, but it was where like Arsenal won the most second balls of a long kick from a goalkeeper, etc. And that creates chances for you, and Arsenal were the most at it. And to the point is like if you have competent wingers, if you have wingers that are able to create better chances and score more chances, you don't have to put entire burden on Hakai Havertz and say, it's that's the only thing. For example, yeah, we get a more clinical striker, fine. But then your style of play changes. Then you have your entire team to suit. Like they have to adapt to that one striker's, style of play. For example, if
But if
I,
we
I
can
feel
get a striker who's good aerially and can score goals, wouldn't that
But
be
you tell me a player right now who is so prolific with their head, and who's able to win duels, engage with defenders very well. Don't tell me Haaland because we know it's not going to happen. But a striker that's available, and also like he's clinical with finishing, scores a lot of goals, even if it's from a championship team or like a small team, whatever it is. Like, tell me a player across Europe who does that consistently. I really don't think there's any player who can engage the defender better than Havertz. And the thing with Havertz is versatile. He can play left, right, and central. And he also dips in and plays in the midfield. And the problem is right now, that's the thing, like we don't have any striker. Like I always think we need a backup striker regardless of what it is. I think you can't go into a season without having, a so-called striker. It's just for the fact that get something different. In games like today, when like Kai Havertz is not really firing, you need something different in front.
yeah.
And we don't have the reliability. For example, you take out Kai Havertz, who comes in, it's Jesus, and we know what's the story with him. Even though again, he's a player I like a lot in terms of everything but this finishing. You look at his finishing, he scored 5 goals this entire year. Like last time he scored was against Nottingham 2-1 when we won 2-1 in the beginning of Jan of 2024. So like my point is who is the other person who's going to come in? Is it someone who's reliable in finishing? We don't have it. And like I mean it comes down to a lot of Arsenal attacking play is designed by him, winning second ball. So like you can't do much about it. Like I feel like there's a lot of upside. Like him winning second balls, you create a lot of chances because of that. Like I remember against Crystal Palace, he was winning so many headers, so many second balls, and we are creating so much out of it because the ball goes to either Trossard, sometimes it goes to Odegaard. He just plays, through quickly to Saka, and then you put it across whatever it is. So it's like there's so much more to it than just goals. Like I just feel like that.
yeah, bro. Just to quickly flip it on the other side and quickly ask Rishi, bro. Rishi, now obviously probably there wasn't as much a threat from United on the counter when this game started versus when Ahmad came on. Nothing really on that left. Like, what do you think? What's the story there, bro? What's the story with Rashford? What's the story with Garnacho? Like, what's happening?
I
What's
mean,
your take on the situation also?
two things. Firstly, like when it comes to Rashford, like we're hearing both sides of the stories. One is coming from the reporters, some of them saying that like it's Rashford's camp is unhappy or he wants to move, and then the other side is like okay, the club is kind of forcing him out in order to get some money for PSR, and they just want to like so it's contrasting. And like the coach, like Amarim is not even the manager, he's the coach. Like he doesn't have the authority to decide, okay, like I want this player, I'm gonna go after this player.
Didn't
Like
he
he,
banish him from the squad? I remember
that's what
that
he's
was what
that,
the
that,
story
that's
was.
what he's supposed to say. Like it's disciplinary. Look, what else are you
Oh,
supposed to say? Like
whoa,
my
whoa,
the
whoa.
club hierarchy
What
is
do you mean,
doing
bro?
this.
He's
I'm not.
coming out and telling that he's banished him. Why are you saying he's supposed to tell this? What is this
Yeah,
Illuminati
like
theory?
that's yeah. As a manager, you're supposed to show united front. You're supposed to be like, okay, like if
Bro,
this
but he
is
dropped Garnacho and Rashford for saying, disciplinary issues. How is Garnacho back
correct.
but not Rashford?
The Garnacho thing is entirely different. Apparently, he had
It was
sort
the
of he
same
started
thing.
a fight. No, he started a fight apparently. But then again, Rashford is entirely different. Like in the sense that from Rashford's camp, it's saying okay, it's the English media is after him. He wants a fresh challenge or whatever. And the club also like again, there are trusted
But
reports.
did Rashford come out and say he wants a fresh challenge and stuff like that?
Yeah, he did to
No,
Henry
he
Winter.
didn't. To be fair, he
Yeah, he
didn't.
came out and said.
But he also says he's open to staying, right? The same guy said he's also open to staying and stuff like
No,
that.
that
So
hasn't been directly reported. On the other hand, he gave a personal, like a direct interview to Henry Winter saying he wants to
Yeah.
leave. So it's,
he
I
said
mean,
he wants a new challenge. He didn't say he wants to leave.
okay, fine. If that's the case, if the new challenge is under Amarim, fine. It's for Amarim to decide. But at the end of the day, this is what the information that we have. So with that, I
What's
feel,
your personal take on the situation? Like, like you've been quite a Rashford supporter over the years.
bro, I have I have the cutout from Rashford's debut right here, stuck up right here. That's how big of a Rashford fan I am.
That's the
Like
last time he played well. Also, don't worry.
I mean, that's fair enough. I mean,
It's
but,
fine.
Rebound,
he's
goals.
one of those players I'll just never give up on, man. Like I still think he's one of those players who you need to put an arm around. You need to support him, and he's not one of those players who will have that bad attitude. He's one of those players who's always given like spoken in good light by the by the managers, by the like his colleagues, his players. So, and he's a homegrown talent. So he's one of those players like I'll always back. I'll always like it's to be United, to play for United, come through the academy means a lot of things. So the fact that he wants to leave, that fair enough. But if we can, the fact that Garnacho is our instant replacement. I feel he's too brash. His decision making is all over the place. Like sometimes when he has to release it quickly, he holds on too long. Like I think the primary concern for me is that he only tends to release when he realizes that he can't get a shot away. I think that's my biggest concern. So
Hmm.
as a winger, you can't just be looking at goal scoring. You have to try and create. If you really can't do that, then someone needs to have a talk with you, or fair enough, if you really want to be the main man, do it elsewhere, whatever it is, but you have to fix up when you're playing. And I think that left side, bro, I can't believe how much, with the amount of money that we've invested, we're still here. But I also see what we wanted in Hoyland. Like he brings like he wins a lot of duels. He's big. He has that pace about him. He has a afterburners. It's just sometimes he doesn't make the right runs. And I feel he for a young striker that'll come. Like for at 21, nobody like I don't remember the last time anyone but Haaland was like scoring left, right, center at a consistent rate. Like he's still young. He still has time. But at the same time, I see minerals in him. So hopefully that up front Hoyland can take up the main role, but the left side is still a glaring thing. Unless we decide on bringing Rashford back, I think that left side is a big glaring hole.
Bro, it's 2025. I've been talking about Rashford since 2018. The
That's
same
true.
things. There's no point.
I mean, your club still wants him. I wonder why.
Wants him, bro. Where is she?
Yeah,
Where do you get these
please,
stories
bro.
from, bro?
We don't want any
Where are your
Rashford,
sources
bro.
from? Yeah,
Please
like
No
keep him,
chance.
bro.
Sure.
Enjoy.
You also agreed. We also discussed this on our group, saying that he
I
wanted
never
him
said I
on
wanted Rashford.
when did
I
anyone
don't
say we
want
want him?
anywhere
God.
near him,
Okay.
bro. You're near Arsenal, please.
No, but who said Arsenal wants him? Like, where's the source coming from?
There were multiple reports on Twitter.
So, who's the multiple reports that's reporting this?
I mean, it's not there right now, but I just remember from what I'm seeing, what I saw in the past.
It's
Brother,
time
I've
to
never
learn.
seen one link till now that says Arsenal want, this thing, Rashford. I've seen teams like West Ham want for sure because I've seen it on
That's
United
his
stuff
level.
and stuff
That
like
is
that.
his level.
Yeah, but like, I really don't know if Arsenal really wants him. See, to be fair, if we get him, I don't mind because like I think we need
I
some
I
pace.
I
Like,
would
I
want
really
him.
think we need pace behind this thing, and if we can fix him, with those issues he has, why not,
Bro,
bro? Like
I
actually,
just can't deal with people like players who like have this attitude, like weird like attitude thing going on, bro.
that's
Like
the
feel
one
like
thing. Like I feel like
Rashford.
that's the reason. Like I don't. That's I think that's the reason Arsenal not going behind him generally
Yeah, yeah.
because of the off-field issues, like whatever it is, you know. But I feel like as a player, if you only look at it as a player, I think he's still valuable in his own
Yeah, as
sense,
a
right?
player, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think the attitude is probably like the main problem with Ashford. But yes,
Hmm.
that's where we are. Arsenal, Manchester United ended 1-1 in full time, and Manchester United winning 5-3 on penalties. They progressed to the fourth round.
5-4.
Arsenal
5-3. We
5-3.
didn't even take the last
We didn't take
game.
the
Oh
last
yeah,
game.
sorry. Yeah.
5-3. But yeah, so that's where it is. Thanks everyone for watching. That's our post FA Cup Arsenal United talk. Please do like and share the video, subscribe to Sports Recovery. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.